These are the new metal releases for February 21st, 2025. I have 6 albums to talk about, and I have a mix of genres. I think this time every album is a completely different genre. Everything from black metal to heavy metal, techno death metal, groove metal, some weird gothic black metal from Germany, which is probably one of my favorites anyway. But I'm going to get to all of this. I'm going to start with one of the bigger named bands that I almost did a full review for, but I decided against it. So let me get... I have a Scour, and the name of the album is Gold. This is their first full-length album. They released 3 different EPs, which are gray, red, and black, and all their albums are named after colors for some reason. They formed in 2015, and I guess they fall under the category of a supergroup. The big name here is Phil Anselmo. You know him from Down, Pantera, Superjoint Ritual, and a bunch of other bands. There's also John Jarvis on bass, who's from Pig Destroyer, Adam Jarvis on drums, and Mark Knopfel on guitars, and both of them from Misery Index. So in other words, it's a black metal band comprised of metal musicians who normally are from other genres like death metal and other genres. This is black metal, but it's black metal in its most extreme form, similar to bands like Dark Funeral, Marduk, Mayhem, and a bunch of other bands I've never really listened to that much. This album is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but we're going to talk about it. The album has 13 tracks. Songs are fairly short. Song titles are just one word for some reason. And this album just starts off really heavy. The first 2 songs are Cross and Blades. They're just straightforward, fast-paced black metal with blast beats and tremolo pick guitar riffs and everything you would expect from an extreme black metal band. The third track is called Insuforium. This was one of the singles. This one has a slower intro, but that just doesn't mean they're getting soft. It just means that it just takes off and it gets really dark and evil and probably some of the most evil sounding stuff you will ever hear. Phil Anselmo does really deep guttural vocals, and he does those higher, like fry vocals. That's common with black metal. I think he's really suited for this genre, to be honest with you. Now, the rest of the album is pretty much most of the same type of music. There are a few tracks that are just these very dark and evil sounds, and they're more like interlude tracks. Now, for example, track number 4 is called Ornaments. It's just 2 minutes of these demonic voices and creepy bells and things like that. Now, let me tell you a story, because I'm listening to this album, and there's another track, which is track number 12, called Angels, and it's the same type of thing, these creepy, demonic voices, and I'm listening to it, and I have this canvas poster on the wall. I'm going to turn my camera around so you see what I'm talking about. So, if you can see behind me on that bed, there's this Pink Floyd poster. You could see it like right there in the bottom. Hand of the screen. That was hanging between those 2 masks up there. And while I'm listening to this song called Angels, which is not really a song, it's more like an interlude, that picture fell onto the bed. And it kind of freaked me out. Now, I tried to rationalize it in my mind because the neighbors were doing some construction work. Someone was banging a hammer. So I'm thinking the most logical reason is it was the vibration, but that's what I'm trying to convince myself. But otherwise, it was kind of weird, kind of freaky, and thought I'd share that with you. But otherwise, this is black metal, some of the darkest and heaviest stuff you'll ever hear. If you're a fan of this type of music, you'll like it. For me, it's a little out of my comfort zone, but I'll probably listen to it a little more, just see if I can get into it. But that's all I'm going to say about this band. Next band I have is called Airforce. The album is Acts of Madness. This band is from London, England. They formed back in 1987, but they broke up in 2001 and got back together in 2008. And this is their 3rd full-length album. This band features Doug Sampson, and he was a drummer for Iron Maiden. He was one of the first drummers, I believe, probably the second one, and he was in the band from 1977 to 1979. They sound a lot like Iron Maiden. There's no hiding that fact, and they know it themselves. They even cover an Iron Maiden song called Strange World, which is from their debut album. That's the last track in the album. This album has 11 tracks. It's 53 minutes long. The opening track is Among the Shadows. This has a classic heavy metal sound. There are chugging guitars. The vocalist is very reminiscent of Bruce Dickinson. And I think the big difference with this band is that it's more of a guitar-centric band. The bass guitar, which is usually more in the forefront in Iron Maiden, it's probably a little lower, but that's the big difference. There are a few good tracks, such as Cursed Moon, which has this cool mid-80s heavy metal sound. There's a track, Allied Sniper, that has this classic galloping sound. A softer track called Lost Forever, sounds like a typical power ballad you would hear from a typical 80s heavy metal band. And I don't have much more to say about this without making comparisons to Iron Maiden. But if you're looking for that type of sound, don't expect anything out of the ordinary with this band, but it's still good. I enjoy listening to it, so that's all I'll say about it. The next band I have is Mean Mistreater. The album is called Do or Die. This is a heavy metal band from Austin, Texas. It's their second full-length album. It's also a female-fronted band. There are 5 members in the band. They have this twin guitar attack in their sound. It's a short album. There's 8 songs. It's 26 minutes long. The opening track is called Killer Red, and it's some of that fun 80s style, party-oriented heavy metal music. The song has lyrics about hating your job and how you can't wait for the weekend so you can go out and rock. The music's very upbeat, it's energetic, it's a lot of fun. Then the next track is called One Survivor, and it's just some of that classic heavy metal with glam influences, something along the lines of Rat or Twisted Sister. It's just heavy rock and roll. After that is a track Nothing's Free. It had a classic sound with lots of cool lead guitar work. And then track number 4, they changed the sound a little bit. What sounded a little darker, had more of that old school heavy metal sound. Then after that title track, Do or Die, was more faster paced punk rock, something along the lines of Motorhead. And then towards the end of the album, there was another song which stood out to me called 3 of Swords, and that was something along the lines of King Diamond or Merciful Fate. So as you can see, there is a little bit of variety on this album. Some of it's just fun party rock. Other songs are a little more of the dark and evil type of heavy metal. So I recommend you check this band out if you like bands with a retro sound. I have is called Retromorphosis. The album is called Psalmus Mortis. They are a Swedish technical death metal band, and it's their debut album. The band also has lots of members from another band called Spawn of Possession. That's also a Swedish tech death band, and they were active from 1997 to 2017. So this is basically a continuation of the same band, but I think they changed their name and changed their sound a little bit. The album was released on Season of Mist. It has 8 tracks. It's 42 minutes long. One thing that's cool about this band is that the lyrics are like these short horror stories. So, for example, track number 3 is called Aunt Christie's Will. And if you read the lyrics, it's like reading a short horror story. So I thought that was pretty cool. The opening track, Obscure Exordium, it's just an instrumental track. It's just under 2 minutes. It's pretty cool. It's technical death metal, but mixed with that horror synth. And the first main song is called Vanished. This has the fast rhythms, has deep guttural vocals, and some very technical guitar riffs. I thought it was good because it went through lots of different changes. They changed the rhythm, they played different guitar riffs, and they added these creepy keyboard synths to maintain that horror movie vibe that this album has. After this was the aforementioned Aunt Christie's Will. This one had a very creepy vibe. I thought the song had a few cool guitar riffs. It had some palm muting, it gives it a thicker sound, and some of the guitar riffs were reminiscent of black metal as it had a creepy vibe. The vocals are very thick and guttural, but you can understand what the vocalist is saying if you listen closely. I thought it was a pretty good song, and they had enough here to keep my interest. I like that it's technical death metal. It's not full melodic death metal, kind of like what the band Obscura did on the last album. It's tech death, but it's still kind of listenable. It's like not too technical where it just sounds like all over the place. Like the songs do have some type of structure. And I also like the fact that they use these creepy organs, and a lot of songs have this horror movie feel, and that goes along with the heavy technical death metal riff. So I recommend you check out this band. It's pretty cool, even if you've never listened to their previous incarnation. Next band I have is called Shadow of the Talisman, and the album is As Above, So Below. I had a promo of this one, and let me take a quick break, and I'm going to show you a little interlude, which is going to read a little description of the band. So I'll be back.
As Above, So Below is the bold concept album by Shadow of the Talisman, introducing us to the Dark One, who chooses to recruit and resurrect a broken man to transform him into a killing machine soon known as the Outlaw. The album is a gorgeous tornado of genres and mediums swirled into one of the greatest horror stories ever told through funky, break-oriented alternative metal featuring powerful vocals and intricate, raucous instrumentals.
Different kind of band. This album is very different. I liked it because when the music is not very typical, it's not like the same thing I listen to every week. It's something along the lines of thrash metal and groove metal. It's a spaghetti western themed concept album. The band is from Flint, Michigan. They were 5 friends from college. They got together in 22, and this album has 8 tracks. It's 47 minutes long. The songs are of varying lengths. They're only about like 3 minutes, and some are up to like 8 and 9 minutes. The opening track is called Arise, and it has these big Metallica-style guitar riffs, but more like Metallica from the Load albums mixed with a little bit of that And Justice for All era Metallica. But when you hear the vocals, it sounds more like groove metal. I'm thought of more of the vocals of like Lamb of God, those types of vocals. The next track is called What Is Real. This one has a slower pace, more of a southern rock sound, kind of like Black Label Society, and the vocals were different, more of like a southern rock mixed with death growls. This song also had some cool bass guitar sounds. And then there was a track called Fiery Descent, which was much faster paced, sounded more like extreme metal, but the chorus was kind of catchy and it made the sound more accessible. Track number 4 is called Dead with the Devil, and this had a very dark atmospheric sound with a very cool isolated bass guitar riff, and it made it sound very cool. Also had a very bouncy rhythm. I like that a lot. The next track is called The Outlaw. It gave me these old school Metallica vibes at first, but they went into this more southern rock meets thrash type of sound. Track 6 is called Cursed, which was very different. It had clean guitars. It was like classic southern rock, like Bad Company or Leonard Skinner. I thought that was really cool, as it was a nice contrast with some of the heavier stuff on the album. And after this was an 8-minute track called As Above, and I went back to that 90s Metallica sound on this track. There's also an 8-minute song that was filled with tempo changes and blazing guitar riffs. Thought it was very good. It's a different type of band. They don't sound like the same subgenres or everything that I'm listening to every week. So they're different. So I recommend you check it out. Band that is Nachtblut with Todschick. They are a German gothic and melodic black metal band. I saw the name and the album cover. I was expecting something along the lines of melodic black metal, something like Dissection, but I got something completely different. This is like Cradle of Filth meets Rammstein. It's more of that symphonic, industrial type of black metal where they sing in German. It's very dark, but it's a campy kind of dark, like a cheesy horror type of thing. And I thought it's a really cool band, so let me talk about it. All the song titles are in German, so I'm just going to be talking about them and saying the track numbers. This way I don't butcher the song titles. The opening track starts with this haunting synth, and it goes into a heavy guitar riff, and that part kind of reminds me of Rammstein, those industrial thrash types of guitar riffs. But the vocals are more black metal vocals, more along the lines of Danny Filth, something like him. After that was the title track. It had more of that horror movie synth, and this was also a very energetic song with some pretty cool industrial guitar riffs. The album had a lot of that. And actually, a lot of songs begin with those creepy intros, and then they hit you with the bigger guitar riffs. There's also a pretty cool bass guitar sound on the album as well. Then there are other songs, such as track number 4, where the vocals sound more like Till Lindemann when he's doing those softer spoken types of vocals. Then another song, which is more on the electronic side, and it sounded more like Depeche Mode from the 80s. I like this album a lot. I think it might even be my favorite of the week because it's very different. I'm a big fan of Rammstein, so I like that band a lot. But this is different. They go in different directions. It's just a very fun, awesome album. It's very campy. I recommend you check it out. So that's all. Check out last week's episode of New Metal Albums from February 14th. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.